Hi, I'm trying something new. My channel is approaching 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, which I'm so stoked about and extremely grateful for, and I've been uploading videos more frequently than ever these days. I want to be doing as much of this as possible, and so I figure now is the right time to start asking you all for money. Right now I spend basically all of my free time outside of how I make money doing this, and I want to be able to continue to do this as much and as well as possible. So the best way to support that, if you appreciate what I'm doing here and want me to continue to be able to do this land use content and transportation content and things in that realm, the best thing you can do is subscribe to a membership either on YouTube using the join button next to the subscribe button beneath this video, or on Patreon if you prefer. I have it in both places. I'm trying really hard not to overcommit myself to this Patreon and set myself up for failure so that I can do things that are actually manageable. So what I've decided on is exclusive member content once a month. Once every pay period that you pay for the subscription, there will be a bonus video of me going through on Google Maps, pointing out stuff, looking at things, and this is the first iteration of that. So this first one is free. There's a second one that I've recorded that is also available behind the membership if you want to pay for it. You'll also be able to get videos available a day early for the longer videos that I put out, so you'll have early access to that stuff as well. To anyone who joins the membership on YouTube or on Patreon, I am so immensely grateful to you for doing that, and I'm looking forward to continuing on this land use content path that I'm on. So without further ado, here's the first bonus video. If you want to see the second one, you can subscribe. The link is in the description, or you can click the join button on YouTube. Thanks. Redundant freeways. I'm about to show you my favorite example in Winston-Salem. The original piece of I-40, which is a freeway that spans the entire country all the way from Wilmington, North Carolina, all the way into California. The first piece of it that was built in North Carolina was through Winston-Salem. It is now known as 421 / the Salem Parkway. And this freeway, as with many freeways at the time, drove itself right through the very, very edge of downtown and very much divided the urban fabric of Winston-Salem. So they've got this this entirely grade separated freeway going through their whole friggin' downtown that was constructed in the 50s. But in, I believe, the 80s or 90s, but we'll check on the historical aerial in just a second. But at some point in those decades, they created a bypass around Winston-Salem that just is like just barely south of the original 421 route, and they rerouted 40 onto it. So it's just this whole highway facility that goes through here that serves essentially the exact same function that this one did, but just without cutting the city in two. Now, this freeway reached the end of its useful life not too long ago in the mid 2010s, and instead of taking this out and turning it into a surface boulevard or some other productive way to increase their tax base, they decided to reconstruct the whole thing at great cost, and they've created this, what they've, the city of Winston-Salem believes to be this amazing achievement of a sunken freeway that's been totally reconstructed brand new. But the reality of it is that this is a totally redundant and unnecessary facility that they have held on to for reasons that are difficult to comprehend. So yeah, totally unnecessary stretch of 421 down here. And you can also, it's interesting how you can see in the interchanges what the original path was here, where I-40 came in and then just went straight through to 421, but then they created this diversion down here. Anyway, also funny to note is that Winston-Salem is in the process of creating their beltway right now. You can see that it comes in through up here. This is a new freeway, but this section of it does not exist yet. Same thing down here. They're in the middle of constructing it, and it's going to go right past 40. And what's it going to do? It's going to create a beltway to the south. Meaning there's going to be 3 redundant freeway facilities. There's going to be like literally 3 bypasses of Winston-Salem. The United States is special in terms of the amount of money that it's willing to invest into pointless infrastructure. Interestingly, Winston-Salem's neighboring city of Greensboro has their beltway complete. And originally it was designed so that I-40 would be diverted onto the southern edge of the beltway, and through traffic would be sent around the edge of the city. But people hated it so much that the DOT actually gave way and decided to realign I-40 back along its original alignment and have this just be sort of its own thing here. So, yeah, I guess there was a similar idea for Winston-Salem. I don't have other examples of redundant freeways in my mind, but I know they exist. So I'm just going to start looking around through cities and see which ones I can find. Raleigh loves its freeway Bermuda triangles. They've got one in here where it's a triangle of space all completely enclosed in by freeways. There's another one over here in Research Triangle Park, totally enclosed by freeways. I think there's even another one up here. Oh, no, this isn't a freeway. It's just a stroad. Never mind. Here's another one, US 1, 64, and 540, creating a freeway tangle. Back to Asheville, we have these two parallel segments of freeway. This is a short one, but this section of 240 and this section of I-40 are just like directly parallel right next to each other, squeezing the French Broad River on either side. This has always been sort of strange to me. Of course, we have the I-81 example in Syracuse, where the original path of I-81 just tore directly through the heart of the city. But now freeway traffic can really just use I-481, and that's sort of fine. So what they're doing is they are converting this into a surface boulevard. There's a project that's been held up in the courts for a while, but is finally moving forward to convert this from a freeway into a boulevard. And I believe the alignment of I-481 is just going to become the new I-81. I will be interested to see how they treat this freeway ramp. Are they going to make any adjustments to the design here? It almost looks like they already have, actually, with this whole thing being different. Let's take a look at what's going on here. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. See? Okay, so in preparation for this becoming the new path of I-81, in order for it to not be exit E, they are increasing the capacity here and adding lanes. I'm sure that is what's happening. Let's look at Atlanta to talk about a would-be redundant freeway. In Atlanta, they have the I-85, I-75 downtown connector is what they call it. It's this just unbelievably huge monstrosity of lanes. This was originally like a normal sized freeway, but then the Freeing the Freeways program, which ultimately did not fix traffic in Atlanta, might I add, expanded this into a massive superhighway. But directly adjacent to it would have been another freeway, which you can see more clearly when you turn this onto the view where you can see the parks with the distinguished color and everything. You see this shape here in Freedom Park that is the shape of two freeways crossing, but there's no freeways except for this little segment right here. So originally, I-75 and I-85, which both travel on this absolutely massive connector next to downtown, were going to be two separate freeways. I-75, I think, was the one that was going to get displaced into this interchange over here and then connect up and follow the same alignment as the Georgia 400. So it would have connected in here somewhere. But the freeway revolts in Atlanta prevented that from getting built. But not before they raised a bunch of the neighborhoods that were already there in order to build the freeway. So what we have today is this giant park that's got a big plus sign shape and then Jimmy Carter's Presidential Museum in the center. Yeah, I don't know if you can imagine what this would have been like if it was all freeway. Now, I think there's something to be said for the fact that this is just an absolutely abominable freeway alignment in Atlanta. I mean, this is just completely brutal that they put this here. And maybe it would have been better if there was a freeway that was, displaced on the, farther outside of downtown if this one didn't exist. But we all know that the reality of these freeways is that one would have gotten built and then capacity would have gotten expanded for both of the freeways, and it would have been equally as much of a nightmare as it is today, just like it is in all of the cities in, Texas and Houston and Dallas and stuff, where they have totally redundant freeways. I mean, look at these frickin' freeway designs. They've just got, it's hard to make the argument that these freeways are redundant to some people because there's so much traffic that the idea is if we didn't have those freeways, can you imagine how much worse the traffic would be? But the reality is that the existence of these freeways is subsidizing, literally, like they're expensive as hell to build and maintain, and they're subsidizing all of this suburban development by making it feasible to live here. If you didn't have a high-speed freeway connection to get to all the stuff that you need in the city, that would be impossible for these suburbs to exist. So literally the existence of the freeways is inducing the traffic on them. And that's what makes them redundant, is the fact that, you have a grade separated freeway right here, another grade separated freeway right here, another one right here, another one right here, and then another one going through right here that just totally boxes in the downtown. That's totally unnecessary. And yeah, the traffic has been induced by this development pattern. This 1, 2, 3, 4 ring road size development pattern. It's just unbelievable. When are we getting the Houston 5th ring road? When are we getting a ring road, that the 6th level of ring road that goes out into the ocean? Is that going to happen in my lifetime? Take a look at these freeways that I believe were designed and built as state roads between Dallas and Fort Worth. On either side here, you have these fully grade separated interchanges for these two freeways that literally just are like directly next to each other and go up and down. I suppose this exists because of the Dallas Fort Worth airport. I'm not super sure. But there's no way that you need to have both of these freeways here. It's impossible to justify. Let's take a look at Vancouver. See, they don't have redundant freeways. They just have surface boulevards going into their downtown. And guess what? It's fine. It's completely fine if you don't have 5 superhighways intersecting through your downtown. It's not gonna kill us. It's not like Vancouver is unable to facilitate like sufficient trade and commerce and get people, from one place to another, because they don't have a freeway coming through here cutting this up, and then another one coming through here cutting this up, and then another one going right here cutting this up, and then another one. Like they're just not freeways. They're just surface boulevards, and it's fine. Denver's got some pretty cursed freeway triangles too. They've got this one right here. That's a great freeway triangle. There's one up here also. I think these are all grade set. No, that's not grade set. Wait. It's partially grade separated. It counts for me. It's a freeway triangle. Check out this freeway triangle. I mean, this one's a true no man's land. What do you think the vibes in here are like? You can find redundant freeways in pretty much any major city in the United States. I'm going to close on this one in Nashville. That's pretty crazy to me. You can see these two grade separated freeways, this one here and this one here. They start at basically the same interchange close to downtown, and then they diverge just barely, like not very far at all. They're pretty much right next to each other the whole time. And then they end at the same interchange too, at the top, meaning that these are just like actually, what is the point of having these two things next to each other? It's so just like unnecessary. They start and end at the same place. Luckily, there's a movement towards disinvestment from freeways as they reach the end of their useful lives, like they're doing in Syracuse. Some cities have already chosen, when the freeway gets to the end of its useful life, to reconstruct it like they did in Winston-Salem, and that sucks. But not every city is going to do that. Some of them are going to decide to tear down their freeways instead of replacing them, and that's going to happen increasingly over time. So what's exciting about that is that it means that we genuinely might have like fewer lane miles of freeway, of urban downtown freeway, in the coming decades than we have today, which would be a beautiful thing to see. It could be a real transformative moment for a lot of our cities. So anyway, I appreciate you becoming a member either on Patreon or on YouTube, and watching this extra content that I've put together. Your support makes it possible for me to keep doing this thing that I'm doing, so I greatly appreciate it. Thanks so much.